Today I am gonna update my old Prot Warrior guide for Phase 2 now that the Phase 2 meta is settled. We're gonna explain the whole build and what changed. There has been a couple changes even though I think I nailed most of the build before launch. Okay, let's see that. There is two big changes that I couldn't really predict when I came across Phase 2 guys, okay? First of all, this is the elephant in the room. Before I made my old Prot Warrior guide, Shield Slam got buffed to heck. I was expecting Prot to be just like a middle of the road spec, but kinda like almost about the best until you got gear and then you will go Fury. And now it turns out that Prot is a very high threat spec. Second, and this also made Prot a lot stronger, is the fact that you do not struggle with threat as a warrior much anymore. The main issue you got going on for you guys is that the boss damage in Sunken Temple is beyond bonkers. Just for context, this is pre-nerf, they nerfed it even more yesterday, but still. When I was doing Eranicos on progression, the last day of the first lockout, that's when we went to Sunken Temple, I had 3400 HP, and after blocking a swing from Eranicos, okay, he swung me for 3100 one time. Had I gone Fury now, and there's a build going Fury that I'm gonna probably break down in a couple days when I understand it a little more. Had I gone Fury on progression, guys, I would have not survived that fight. I would have gotten one shot. So if you're still in progression, if you still do not have a lot of good healers and good gear and everything to deal with the fights, you should be going Prot still. Alright, so let's go over the build really quick. We're gonna take here 5% extra block chance here. This is because we're gonna need this talent down for later. Then we gotta take Blood Rage for Rage, obviously, that's a no-brainer. We're also gonna be taking here Defense 10, this time Defense Skill. You can take Toughness, you can take Iron Will, whatever you like. It's not a big deal. I just like a little Defense Skill because I never take Defense Skill. It doesn't really matter to us anymore if we get crit because we do not have the Enraged talent, so we can take whatever. Now we're gonna take Last Stand. Last Stand was absolutely crucial for me to survive the bosses this tier. The damage is insane, like I said, and we're gonna take 1 point in shield block so we can block 2 swings in a row. Aside from Eranicos with the trash where you would do multiple swings, if you are tanking a boss and you got 2 charges of shield block, you're gonna pretty much have 100% uptime on shield block. That will mean that you're gonna have 100% chance to block or avoid anything. And that means you can't get crit. So yeah, that's why people usually don't go for defense skill. If you like going armor instead of defense skill because you think you're gonna just have plenty of rage and you're gonna be shield blocking every swing, you can go ahead and do it. It doesn't really matter. Like, I don't think 3% more armor is a big deal either way, but you do you. Then we're gonna take Defiance, of course, the 15% extra threat. That's a no-brainer. We're gonna take 2 points in improved taunt. There's a lot of tank swaps in Sunken Temple and having a faster taunt is really handy. We're gonna take Thunder Armor here for cheaper Thunder Armors, that's also a no-brainer. We're gonna take Shield Wall because just like last time, Shield Wall is a vital cooldown for surviving the fights, and having a longer Shield Wall, that's a lot of value. We're gonna take Concussion Blow. This is just a stun, is for the trash mostly. You can use it as a second kick or like to when you see a mob is down and you lose aggro on him, you can just stun him and the people are gonna kill it and you just forget about that mob and tank the others. There's a lot of cool tricks with a stun. We're also gonna take here 100 weapons for damage, of course, and we're gonna take Shield Slam. Basically the buff that went on with Shield Slam, and this is another cool thing about Shield Slam that I'm gonna break down. Shield Slam got double damage now, double scaling damage. So it used to be that it gained 1 damage every shield block you had, shield block value, and now it gains 2 damage. And on top of that, the damage that Shield Slam does, it used to do 1x threat. Like you did 2 damage with Shield Slam, it did 2 threat. But now it has double threat. So if you do 2 damage with Shield Slam, you're gonna generate 4 threat plus modifiers, of course. So that means that the scaling threat-wise of Shield Slam got not doubled, it got quadrupled. Shield Slam is an outrageously strong ability, guys. Also, another really cool thing about Shield Slam, it has a 50% chance of dispelling magic, and as you guys know, in the Atalai Wardens, the 6 troll guys, you gotta dispel, you gotta purge, and this thing has a 50% chance of purging, so you can help the raid purging without even noticing it, because you're just Shield Slamming constantly. For the next 2 talents, we're gonna take here a 5% crit. You can take Improved Demoralizing Shout. I am not too opposed to the idea. It's not terrible, but I like taking Parry instead. And that should hit you level 50. So let's talk about the runes now. The main rune that makes Prot work is not Sword and Board. Sword and Board is great, but the main rune that makes this build work is Vigilance, okay? Vigilance, you put this on a raider, whoever has the most threat, the most damage, the pumper of the guild, and you're gonna take 10% of their threat to you, so they lose 10% of the threat, that's good. And also, that 10% threat that you gain it, and it's affected by your modifiers. As you guys know, you have a 15% bonus threat with Defiance, so that means you're getting like 10% of his threat, times 30% from defensive stance, times 15% from Defiance, times 45% from Alpha. That means that you're taking 21% of his threat as threat for free for you. You can have somebody that does more threat than you, put it on that guy, you're gonna beat him on threat, and you're gonna generate way more threat than you otherwise could have. Vigilance is an outrageously busted ability. I hope they don't nerf it. I don't think they will nerf it because Blizzard likes stomping on the other kind of warrior. We're not gonna talk this week. Along this week, we're gonna make a video on it. But yeah, Vigilance is your bread and butter here. You put it on whoever pumps the most. For the chest, we're gonna take Flagellation, 25% more damage, pretty obvious. We're gonna take Sword and Board here. Every time you revenge and you devastate, you get free shield slams and it resets the cooldown. Shield Slam is a very high threat ability now, and of course you wanna pump the most you can, so that's very good. Now for the hands, we're gonna be taking Devastate. Obviously Devastate is your spam ability, of course you want it. Focus Rage, this is for reducing the cost. Devastate does a very similar amount of damage to a slam, so free slams is not the way to go. Then we're gonna be taking here Consume by Rage if we are doing single target a boss, and if we're doing AoE, or if you just care about survivability, if you have plenty of threat, we are gonna go Furious Standard so you can keep Thunderclap easier. That's what I like doing, because with this build, threat is never ever an issue, okay? The reason that people go a different build for pumping, the Gladiator Stance build, is not for threat, they do less threat, it's for damage, okay? Of course, all things equal, if your tank does more damage, that's better for the raid because the boss is gonna die faster, but if you're in progression, I recommend you just go for the most threat and the most tankiness, and that's the way you go. Finally, for the feat, we're gonna take here two things. First of all, Rallying Cry, this thing is gonna help you survive the bosses. The bosses are a lot of damage, so if you're doing Eranicus, if you're doing Shadow of Hakar, you know, those two bosses hit really hard, having a second last stand is very valuable. Otherwise, I'm gonna take Intervene. Why do I like Intervene so much? Again, threat is not an issue anymore, so I'm not taking it for threat anymore. I am taking it for the mobility. There's a lot of fights, for example, Atalarion, for example, the slime guy, I forgot the name, but the slime guy, the second boss, or even Weaver and Dreamside, those bosses you need to move quite a bit, and having a way to move without having to change stances so you can preserve your rage, that is super important. Also, in a pickle, you can throw this on the main tank and you're gonna take one hit for him. I mean, it's not great because he loses threat, but you can still do it. It's a nice trick. Your stat priority now flipped. That's the part that I couldn't predict. First of all, the most valuable thing for threat that you can get, guys, believe it or not, is flat shield block value. There is shield block value in your tier piece in Sunken Temple, and there's like two weird items that have it too. And since you scale 4x with shield value on your shield slam, that means that it is a very dirt cheap stat to get. Like, there's items that give you like 100 shield block value with the set bonuses and stuff. So you can imagine 100 times 4, that's your threat that you get, that's a lot of threat. Also, it makes you a little tankier. Shield block value doesn't make you a lot tankier because, like, you block 300 of a 3000 swing. Yeah, that's 10% less damage. That's not a lot of damage. For AoE, it's insane though. Then after that, we're gonna be taking Strength. Strength is slightly more valuable than attack power because remember, every 20 strength we also gain 1 block value. Then we're gonna be taking agility or crit. Remember, agility is gonna give us dodge and armor, very important right now for the damage they are taking. And then we're gonna be taking stamina. I'd say the bare minimum you need to Sunken Temple is somewhere around what I had, like 3400 when you're full buffed. Now, this is pre-nerf, I didn't get to do the raid nerfed. I would assume that now you can probably get away with like flat trick and you would be fine. So what is gonna be the rotation now? That's also another thing that changed a little. Shield Slam became way too valuable. It used to be that Shield Slam was only a rage dump for you. You were trying to get rid of rage and that's how you did. But now Shield Slam is your main priority because it does so much freaking threat. You're gonna Shield Slam, then you're gonna get Devastate, because Devastate is gonna do way more threat than Revenge. You are only gonna do Revenge if you don't have enough threat. Like, one of the perks about getting hit so freaking hard by the bosses is that you have plenty of rage. So Revenge became less priority, not because it is worse or less efficient, but because it is not enough rage for every GCD. Just use it if you're low on rage. And you are going to have to keep shield block up at all times, at the very least for Eranicus and for Morphas and for Shadow of Hakar, because the damage is insane. Remember guys, any attack that you block is an attack that cannot crit, it's an attack that cannot crush, Also remember that if you are the only warrior in the raid, or probably you should do it regardless, because all the other warriors are supposed to pump and you have plenty of threat anyway if you're doing things right, so you might as well help the raid. You gotta keep Thunderclap and Demoralizing Shout on the boss at all times. If you are the off tank, you also gotta take your time to actually Thunderclap and Demo Shout the boss for the other main tank, because the damage is insane, and like Thunderclap is gonna reduce the DPS of the boss by like 30% on its own. Of course you wanna take that. Your best in slot weapon, I also got this right before launch, it wasn't very hard guys, it's just insane. We're gonna take the Cobra Fang Claw, that is a weapon with Wind Fury on it. Of course you want Wind Fury on a weapon for free, but you can also take Dragon Skull. Dragon Skull is an excellent weapon too. Now another really cool thing about Vigilance is that you gain a lot of potential AoE threat here. We're not talking insane threat like a Shaman or a Warlock or a Paladin or everybody else except us guys, because we suck. But here, okay, AoE is not the thing of the warrior, but now you can be kinda competent at it, okay? You put Vigilance on whoever pumps the most AoE, ideally a Warlock, because Warlocks do stupid threat, or a Shadow Priest also does deceptively high threat right now in AoE. And all you gotta do is spam Demoralizing Shout and Taunt, because you're gonna have Taunt off the GCD, you can taunt and keep spamming Demo Shout, and you're gonna have pretty decent threat. You may not hold all the trash in Sunken Temple, but that's fine, you're not supposed to, okay? If you hold like, I don't know, 60% of the mobs on your own, that is plenty for the raid to kill it without dying, so yeah, you're doing your job. What can you do? That is not your job anyway. Like, if you take 2 warriors to Sunken Temple, as much as I love the warrior, I think you're trolling. The warrior is a boss tank through and through. Overall, I think the Prot warrior is very strong. It is one of the highest single target threat classes in the game right now. Even though it is not the tankiest and it is probably not the most wieldy or the most convenient, I think the Prot warrior is a very healthy state right now, and I am very happy for that, because we were very borderline in Nomeregan. Like, I had a nagging feeling the whole time, why don't you play a Shaman? Why don't you play a Shaman? Now, I can say, this is fine, this is good, this is pretty good. Guys, I put a lot of new weak auras in the Discord. If you're a warrior and you wanna pump, this is the way to go. I put a weak aura for shield block tracking, because you're gonna forget it. I forgot it until I got it. You need every single swing I have it on you. I also took the liberty of modifying a little bit of Mir's raiding pack for Sunken Temple. That's a full suite of mechanics for Sunken Temple in a weak aura. He made an excellent weak aura, I just fixed a couple bugs. If you do not have Fosh because you don't want to pay $30 to him, yeah, take that one. At the very least until DBM comes out, I guess. We still don't have a Sunken Temple DBM. Of course, I also made the weak aura for the new rune sword and board, so you can keep track of that with the weak aura. I put that one there too. Just a lot of resources. Actually, if you want to try hard, I got a bunch of resources there. You may want to check it out. Subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.